All right, guys, this is going to be my first bonus demo on Asteroid Destroyer, and this is going to be on some different shooting or gun effects that you can do, and then I'm also going to show you how to do mouse controls in your game, and then I'm going to also show you how to maybe add a power-up to enable those things. So we're going to get started right away here. So the first thing I just want to show you is that right now, and I'm using a finished version of the game to do this, so you might be at a different point than me, but as long as you're at the point where you can shoot, like you could start putting this in if you want to. So the event for shooting, it says keyboard on space pressed, spawn a bullet. Okay. And on key pressed, that means every key press, so every single time I press it, it'll spawn one bullet. There's a big difference between key pressed and key is down. So if I run my game right now, basically every time I press space, it'll spawn a bullet. Okay, so you can see every time I press it, it'll just spawn one. If I press it faster, it'll go faster. Okay, that's key pressed. So if I change this to key is down, so I'm going to go in. Actually, what I'll do is I will edit this event. I'll just make another version of the event here. Oops, there we go. Okay, and a trick that you can do is I'll change this one. So I'm going to go back and change it to key is down. Okay, so this says space is down. And what I can do is if I don't want this event to be active, but I don't want to delete it, you can right click it and you can toggle it disabled. And so there'll just be a line through it, and that means this event isn't active, but this one is. So now it says space is down. So let's watch the difference here. Okay, now when I hold down space, you'll see it's not restricted. It's just, as long as I'm holding it down, it's gonna spawn as many bullets as it can. So it's like a machine gun. So let's say you like that, but you don't want it to spawn so fast. We can add a condition to it. So a condition is just saying that like more than one thing here has to be true for it to work. So if I right click on the event, I could add another condition and I could do system and I could say every X seconds. And this basically will be every however many seconds I want it to go. So if I say like 0.25 seconds, for example, now what this event says is while I'm holding down space, and it has to be every quarter of a second, it'll spawn a bullet. So now it'll still shoot like a machine gun, but it won't be as nearly as fast. It'll every quarter of a second. So you can see I'm holding it down and it's shooting out, but they're not going like mad crazy. So that's the way that you could do that. Okay. I'll take that off for now and just leave it like a mega machine gun. Okay. So let's say let me see, I'm going to toggle this disabled again to put this back in. Let's say I wanted to make like a power up to actually enable this to work. So I could choose between the two bullets. So what you would need to do first is if you just right click down at the bottom and you just add a global variable, we're going to make a power up variable and we're going to make it equal 0. And so now the variable here is just a number at the top. So here's my power up. It just equals 0. So now I can just add a condition to these. So if the power up is 0, that's going to be my normal gun. So if I just right click and I add another condition to my normal gun event, I go to system and I do compare variable and I just say that my power up has to equal 0. So now this event here will only trigger if my power up equals 0. Okay. And then I'll make this event trigger if my power up equals 1. So I'll add another condition, system, compare variable. I'm going to say that power up has to equal 1. And so the next question you might ask, so now if I run this, it should only shoot normal. It shouldn't shoot like a machine gun because by default, that power variable equals 0. Okay, so you can see it's just shooting normally. Okay, so the question is how do we change this to 1? Well, all we need to do is we just need to create a power-up object that we can collect. So if we go back to our game and I just double click and I make a sprite, and I can just call this power-up. And for now, I mean, if you wanted to draw something nice or if you had a picture to load in, you could. I'm just going to paint bucket a solid square. And I'll just have this huge power up sitting here. I'll shrink it a little bit. Okay, but I'll just put it there. I don't have to add any behaviors to it or anything right now. It can just sit there. And then I can just add a collision event. So if I just say spaceship on collision with another object with the power up, then you always want to destroy the power up. Otherwise, you're like when you touch it, it'll just stay there and you can keep collecting it. So you always want to make sure you destroy the power up. So I'm going to do power up destroy. And then I'm just going to set that power up variable to 1. So I'm going to do system set value of the power up variable to 1. Okay. So now what will happen is when I collect it, if the game wants to run here. So shooting normal, now I run into it, and now I've got machine gun. Now the issue is now that I've collected it, that machine gun is going to last forever. So if I don't want that to last forever, I can just add another action here, and I can do system wait. So basically, I can just tell it to wait like 3 seconds, however long I want it to wait, and then I could do system set value of power up back to 0. So now what'll happen is I'll collect the power up, it'll get destroyed, it'll set power up to 1, it'll wait 3 seconds and then set it back to 0. So then my gun will go back to normal. Now we can take this even further to let the player know that they have a power up. So I have like these different frames in for my ship that are different colors, and I have the animation speed to 0. So I could utilize that. So what I could do is I could do a system, and I could make an every tick event. And every tick means it's going to constantly happen. I can basically tie my ship's frame number to the power up number. So I can add an action for the spaceship, and I can do set frame, and I can set it to actually power up. And if I type in power up, I want to click on the one with the globe on it because that means it's the power up variable. And so every tick, the ship's frame number is going to be changed to the power up's frame number. So my ship frame number 0, because power up is 0, it'll be yellow. And then when I collect the power up, it should turn to blue because frame 1 is the blue ship. So let's try it out quick. And then after this, if I have time, I want to try to keep this to 10 minutes, I'll do the mouse commands. So ship is yellow, and that changes to blue when I have the machine gun. 3 seconds will pass, changes back to yellow, and I'm back to normal. So that's really quick how you kind of do that with the power up. The next thing I'm going to quickly try to do here is I'm going to add the mouse to the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a new object here on the side. It's like adding a keyboard. So I'm going to add the mouse. And then all I have to do is on this same every tick event, if I just say spaceship, and I can just do set angle, I'm going to do set angle toward position, and I'm going to set it to mouse.x and set the y to mouse.y. Then what it does is when I run the game, the ship will constantly follow my mouse. And then when I shoot, it'll shoot in that direction. And then if I wanted to, for this event here, for the shooting, I could just copy this event. Instead of doing spaces down, I can just do a mouse click. So I can go back here and I can choose mouse, and then I can say on click and on the left click. So now on the left click, it'll spawn the bullet. And I could do the same thing. I would have to copy the power up one too, and then have one for left clicking and one for spacebar. So I know that was a lot there, but you can pause the video at any time and just kind of slowly go through it. But that's basically how you can do some different things with the guns and the bullets, and then have a power up to add on to that. Okay, and then how to do mouse controls with the shooting.